Hi all, Matt from Second Amendment Gunsmithing here. Today I'm going to do my first actual video of a teardown. I'm going to do a Kimber 1911, one of my personal favorites. I love Kimber. I think it's a spectacular firearm. One of the best manufactured 1911s on the market. Today we're going to do the Kimber Stainless Pro Raptor. So why don't we get on it? So first thing I'm going to do is check to make sure the chamber's empty. Got to make sure. See, it's an empty. Safety first. Okay. So gonna take off the grips real quick here. Get these off. These screws out. As you can see, the craftsmanship on this firearm is just out of this world. The tolerances are absolutely outstanding. They're within probably hundreds of thousandths of an inch. They're all laser cut and hand fit and hand assembled. 100% manufactured and assembled in the United States, as all 1911 should be. But unfortunately, a lot of people outsource them, which kind of sucks. But that's the way it is. So this is a little teardown tool that I got on eBay. I kind of love it for this purpose, for any commander size 1911. It's actually kind of nice. They send you the piece with this captive pin and then the guide rod also. Kind of makes it really nice and easy to tear down. Pull out the slide release. Off with the slide. Oops. Up there. There we go. Has to be on there a certain way to get your guide rod out. Out with the barrel. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take out the firing pin and your extractor. Got to kind of push on this safety right here. It's the firing pin safety, and then push in on the firing pin. Pull your plate out. Plate should slide right out. Right there on the magnet. Then you got to push in on your firing pin safety, and then your firing pin will pop right out, just like that. Very simple. And then you want to keep your firing pin safety pushed in so you can actually pull out your extractor. So that's pretty much the teardown on the slide itself. Pretty basic and pretty simple. This is where it gets a little more complex here with the actual frame itself. There's quite a few more pieces in here. So when you take apart the frame, you have to always first thing you have to do is you have to make sure your hammer is pulled back. So when you take out your safety, this one happens to have a ambidextrous safety. You can find them for pretty much any firearm online. They're pretty easy to install and pretty easy to maintain or get in there. But when you take out your safety, you have to make sure your hammer is fully back so your safety will move freely like that. And then once you have your hammer back, you want to go about halfway up and just kind of wiggle it just a little bit, and you'll see that it's kind of coming out. And let's see if I can get it out here really easily. There we go. It just pops right out just like that. And I usually leave the other side in if I can, so when I pull out my mainspring housing, then it's not compressed. So then I'll take my frame and I'll set it right here. Grab a pin, punch out the. Let me scoot over the light here so you can see. Punch out the pin, just like that. There's your mainspring housing. The one nice thing I really like about Kimbers is that their mainspring is always captivated, which is really nice. A lot of 1911s, they won't have that captive pin in there right here. A lot of them, you have to actually stick a pin in there to actually captivate your mainspring. Kimber, you don't have to do that. It's one thing I really like about them. So then, flip over the other side, pull it out. It's kind of nice. Out with your grip safety. And there's your leaf spring. There's your captive spring for your safety and your slide release. There's a couple more pins here we got to push out. There's one there for your hammer. There's one more for your sear, your disconnector, and your safety release. There they are. Your sear, your disconnector, and your safety release. There's all that. Put this up here on the magnet real quick so I don't lose it. Then what we want to do is we want to take out your mag release. Got to kind of push it kind of halfway to kind of find that sweet spot. And when you find that sweet spot, you'll know because it'll move. Because without it in there, it doesn't. Without hitting that sweet spot, it won't move at all. But all you really got to do is just kind of putz with it just a little bit. And if you push on the slide or the magazine release a little bit, you'll find it. And there it is. It'll just pop right out just like that. Then out will come your trigger. Now, I love these guns and I love doing trigger jobs. These things are so great to do trigger jobs on, and people think it's so hard to do a trigger job. It's not necessarily hard, but it's a very detailed job. If you're not careful, you could move these I guess tabs just a little bit too far, or you could take a little bit too much off your sear or too much off your disconnector. I mean, they're all surfaces that rub, and by doing a trigger job on it, you want to make sure all those surfaces are nice and smooth. And from the manufacturer, they usually aren't too smooth. They're kind of blued, or they're just, they're just kind of rough. But I always take all my 1911s, all my Kimbers. I've had upwards of 5. Now I only have 3. But all of them I did trigger jobs on, and my trigger pull on them is right around 3 to 3.5 pounds. And I think it's absolutely perfect, because if I have to pull my gun out and use it, I want it to go off. So there's pretty much the gist of the breakdown, the full disassembly of a 1911. I mean, there's a few other parts like your collets here for your grips, and a few other things in here with your sights and your safety. But that's pretty much the gist of it, of what it comes down to. So, so now let's get to reassembly real quick. Alright, we're going to do exactly the same thing, just pretty much in reverse. So we're going to start off with the trigger. Slide this bad boy in. Make sure you put it in right, because if you don't put it in right, it doesn't fit very well. So you want to always make sure that your angle is facing the front of the gun. Slide that bad boy in there, just like that. And you want to take your magazine release. Slide this bad boy right in there, just like that. And you have to lock it in place. And again, you got to kind of find that sweet spot. And when you find it, you'll know, because if it's not in that sweet spot, your wrench won't go anywhere, but you'll know when it gets there. Hear the click, you're good to go. So then we're gonna grab tweezers here. Where'd my tweezers go? There we go, this won't work. We're gonna put in the firing pin safety release. And this will only go in one way also, so it's kind of hard to make the mistake. So we're gonna take it, we're gonna take the tweezers, and we're gonna slide this bad boy right in there. Let it rest all the way up in place. And if you look on this side, you can see it popping out right here. Oops, fell out. Huh. That happens sometimes. So we're gonna slide her back in there. There we go. Got that in there. Then we're going to take our sear and our disconnector. Again, with the tweezers, I found with the tweezers it's the easiest way to do it. Slide her right in into your disconnector hole. Rest her right on. If you can see, it's resting right on the hammer arm. And your leaf spring can go right in. See it right in, right on your sear and your disconnector, just like that. What I do to make it a little easier to hold everything in place, I always put my mainspring housing in to hold everything in place while I get the rest of the stuff on. Because what it does, the leaf spring, when I push up on this, if you notice, it actually pushes down and it holds everything in place, which is really nice. Because see, nothing's going to just fall out. So it holds everything in place at the same time as I'm trying to put everything in and trying to get everything together. So it's kind of a little secret that I do to make it a little easier. So then we're going to take our pins, we're going to get them in. And then we got to kind of wobble the sear around just a hair just to get everything in place the way it needs to be. If it'll go. Sometimes it won't. Sometimes I got to take all this out and do it this way instead. There we go. There we go. There, now we're in. Get my leaf spring back in, and my mainspring housing in. Put everything in place. Just like so. Then I'm going to take my hammer, get my hammer in place, get my pin for my hammer pin. This bad boy in just like so. Again, find your sweet spot. This bad boy in. Just there we go. Throw your hammer arm down. Kind of get your mainspring housing right on the hammer arm. Then, on with your grip safety. And I always put my half my thumb safety in place. Lock it in just like that. Holds everything in place. Push your mainspring housing up. Grab your captive pin. Slide her in. Get it in. There's your hammer. There you go. Then, got to get your the other captive spring in to hold everything in place for your safety and your slide release. Get that in place. The other side of your safety in. I usually use some type of Allen wrench to compress the spring. Makes it a little easier because then you know when you're actually in place. Push it in. There's your safety. Safety works just fine. Bam. That's how it's done. And we'll get the grips back on. Here real quick. And then two. Three. I really love these guns. These are some of the best guns out there. Make sure they're nice and tight. Don't over tight. Don't ever over tighten them. Just make sure they're nice and hand tight. There's that. There's your frame all together. So now comes slide. Now remember, I had the safety, the firing pin safety right here compressed. You got to make sure you have that compressed in order to slide in your extractor and your firing pin. And you got to kind of find that sweet spot in there. You know, it's can be a pain in the ass sometimes, but got to just make sure that it's in the right spot. And especially with these firearms, if you'll look right here, the way this is, if it's just off just a little bit like that, it's not going to fit. Your firing pin won't go in. So you want to make sure that everything is in place just the way it needs to be. Your plate won't go in either if it's not in the right spot. So you got to make sure everything is placed properly and everything is in the right spot. Compress your safety, your firing pin safety. Get your safety pin in there, or your firing pin in. Notice how it just slid right in. Push it up, you're good to go. When your firing pin pops out, you're ready to rock. In with your barrel. Slide your collet back. In with your recoil spring. Make sure your collet's forward. Now, one thing I learned the hard way, I'm so used to putting 1911s together like this and sliding it on. If you do that with the Kimbers, your firing pin safety will stick out and you won't be able to get it on. So you kind of got to do it kind of upright like this. And when you slide it on, it slides right on, just like that. In with your slide release. I just push it up like that, and it works fine for me. A lot of people like compressing it and not scratching their gun. Personally, I think guns are made to be used, and when they have stuff like that, it kind of makes it look like it's supposed to. There you have it. Kimber Pro Stainless Raptor. Love it. Spectacular firearm. One of the best ones on the market. Thanks for watching. Make sure to hit the like button down below. Subscribe to the channel. I have lots more videos to come. And see you next time.